Okay, time to get this show on the road, as I like to tell myself. I hope you can hear me. It's been very gloomy recently, rainy and drizzly and dark, and I don't mind that, but it's windy today and I am no fan of the wind. So it has caused me to change my plans for today. I had wanted to do some chainsawing, but it's just grim. So what I'm going to be doing instead is heading up the hill behind the house to do some work on getting the footpaths back there up and running again. So I've come down to the potting shed, which is behind me, and what I'll be doing is grabbing, to begin with, my brush cutter and heading up the fire break, which is the opposite side of the Mr. Darcy walk. I cleared that last year by hand. Quite a lot of regrowth had come up during the period of time where I had dislocated my knee and was out of action, but I did get on top of that, and now what I want to do is maintain it. So I'm going to start off doing the fire break, and then I will turn my attention to the centre path, and we'll take it from there. But yeah, not the nicest of weather. We have made it to the starting off point, which is maybe just over halfway up the fire break. The lawn is just there. I come up with my trusty brush cutter. I'm going to start here, and then essentially what I'm going to be doing is taking out any regrowth from here to about this line up the hill here. This is what I like to clear to try and prevent the creep of bushfire onto the property. It's not really going to achieve that entirely effectively when you've got bridges like that and all this vegetation here. Nevertheless, that is no reason to not at least try. And then what I'm going to do, I think, is go along the back fence line, which is just up there, and then work my way back down the centre path. I will have to go back down for the fuel because the little fuel tank in there won't manage all of that in one go, but that'll be sort of a nice opportunity to take a break, have a little stroll, get some water, then head back up and carry on. So let's do this. I don't mind admitting that went better than I expected, because as you probably can't really tell, I'm actually back in the woods now at the second of the parallel paths. The first one's down there. I quite recently re-established this one, and this is the centre path. And on one tank of fuel I went up the fire break and down, taking out everything I wanted. It looks like a bit of a trail of destruction at the moment, and I still have to go and refine it. What I'm going to go and do now is get a couple of secondary tools. There were bits and pieces the brush cutter couldn't quite get through, and then there's sort of bits in the air that are kind of at face height and are irritating, so I'll just prune those by hand. So I'm going to go and grab those tools, tidy this up, and then I'll catch up with you when the job's finished. I'm really pleased with that. Like, I don't mind admitting, I'm not too proud to admit that this is one of those jobs I've sort of been putting off, because I knew it was, well, I believed it was going to be time consuming and difficult, in the sense that it's very steep up here, and it's actually not that pleasant working up here if you're going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Luckily I'm quite fit. Anyway, sort of been putting it off, but it looks like I'm going to get it done in less than a morning, which is brilliant. And then what I'll do is I'll move on to work on re-establishing the Nan footpath. So potentially both of those things could be done, or very close to being done, before I call it a day today. So yes, great progress, very happy. I will catch up with you in a bit. There we go, we've just walked the centre path from the very top to the first, as you come down the hill, parallel path, as in parallel to the house, and from the house the second parallel path. I noticed that as I was coming down there's a couple of little bits and pieces I still need to trim, so I'm going to head back up the hill and do that now. I'm going to head down to the house, have a cup of something nice and warm, and then after that I will head back up and start on the Dan path. So very happy with that. It looks very different than how it looked when I first created this footpath, in that there wasn't anything like this much vegetation. As we hit the vegetation belt coming down the hill, most of what you were walking through was acacia trees, which weren't there before. They sprouted up since the bushfire, which activated the seeds, which were obviously dormant in the soil in abundance. But you know, it is what it is. I preferred how it looked before. It was open, it was lovely. Now it's crowded and sort of dank, but it'll continue to change as the years go by, and maybe one day it'll return to something like how it looked before. Anyway, yes, I'm going to finish and then I'll catch up with you at some point. I left my microphone in the house, so I'm sorry if the sound is not very good, but I wanted to show you the progress I've made on the Nan walk, and that is to say, if we head up, it is done as much as I'm able to do it today. As you can see, unlike the central path, this is going to need a more thorough rake in terms of the surface. There's a lot more branches and twigs, and in fact whole trees strewn across the way. But I plan to give all of the Back Woods Footpaths a rake soon anyway, so I'll just add it on to that. But as we make our way up the hill and over these fallen trees, the path itself remains pretty clear. As I say, I think the fact that this had been maintained as a footpath and therefore didn't burn like the rest of the forest floor meant the seed here wasn't so activated, and so it was possible to see the path even if it was more sort of crowded by plants going over it rather than growing on it. But this is where I hit the problem. The Nan path sort of went on a diagonal linking parallel path 2 and parallel path 3, and I have re-established parallel path 2, but I've got no idea where parallel path 3 is, and so as a result, consequently, I've got no idea where the Nan path ends. I can see the fence line over there, and I know the Nan path went quite close to the fence. But yes, so currently I've got no idea where to end the Nan path, but in some respects that's quite a nice problem to have, because it means that I can do with it what I will. I know the centre path is just there because I recognise that tea tree that I've just gone through. So at this point we're running parallel and very close to the centre path. So I don't know that I want to send it quite up this way. Anyway, I will puzzle it out at some point. It all gets a bit Jenga-y up here. But as I say, a nice problem to have. It means that I can reimagine the destination of this footpath. What I'll turn my attention to after that, and not for a while, is a little network of paths this side of the property, something which I have never undertaken. It's nice, it's a nice part of the property there. There are some really lovely spots in there, but they have never been footpatherised. So maybe that'll be my next project, trying to thrash that out. And now I've got the Mr. Darcy Walk extension loop. I'm on the centre path now, between parallel path 2 and 1. Now that I've got the Mr. Darcy Walk extension loop, that gives me a potential jumping off point to start sending some sort of path from the house-ish up that side of the property. This half has always been more densely vegetated, and as you go down the slope there's quite a steep drop off. It's very, very brackeny, so it's always posed a little bit more of a challenge than this side, which aside from a greater density of trees has always been relatively unvegetated. So there is that barrier to try to overcome, but with my brush cutter that is overcomeable. You can probably see bracken, not really, bracken, not really. It'll be exciting to start sending some sort of footpath over there. This is parallel path 1, and this in fact is where I had started sending a footpath into this part of the property. It's overgrown now. The intention was to hook that up with a footpath lower down. So this could be my starting point, hooking up this to Mr. Darcy Walk extension loop. Who knows? Anyway, I'm withering on now. I will catch up with you later.